You know that quiet moment when all the notifications die down, the likes stop coming in, the world just isn't looking at you for a second, and there's this strange, quiet sense of unease. Have you ever felt that?
In that silence, do you ever feel like you're fading? Not physically, obviously, but psychologically. Like the edges of who you are get a little softer, a little less defined, just because no one's watching.
It might be hard to admit, but for so many of us, attention has become the mirror we hold up just to make sure we're still here. And look, this isn't some new, modern problem. You learned this a long, long time ago. As a child, attention meant safety. It meant approval. It was the very first currency you ever understood, the one that told you that you mattered.
And that's the paradox, isn't it? That's the hidden law we're going to unpack today. You don't chase attention because you're shallow. You chase it because somewhere deep down, a part of you was taught to be terrified of disappearing without it. And this leads us to a profound and maybe uncomfortable truth. The one who controls your attention, well, they control you.
So why does this feel so intensely true? To really get it, we have to look under the hood, at the psychological programming that was wired into your brain before you even had words for any of it. First, your brain learned a very simple, very primal equation. Attention equals survival. I mean, think about it. As a baby, a caregiver's gaze meant everything. It meant food, warmth, safety. So your brain forged this powerful link. If they see me, I exist and I'm safe. If they don't, I'm in danger. This isn't just a thought, it's a deep neurological belief. Next up is a mechanism that's straight out of the playbook for casinos and, yeah, pretty much every social media app. It's called intermittent reinforcement. When attention is inconsistent, sometimes you get it, sometimes it's withheld, your brain gets completely hooked. You're not actually controlled by the attention you get, you're controlled by the constant fear of losing it. And then you've got the internal spotlight. It's this natural human tendency to think people are watching us way more than they actually are. When you internalize that spotlight, you start performing all the time for an audience that might not even be there. You're basically handing over your autonomy to these invisible judges in your head. When you put all of these forces together, they literally rewire your brain. Attention gets fused with your most core needs, your sense of safety, your identity, that feeling of belonging, your power, your self-worth. It all gets tangled up. So, is it really any wonder that losing attention can feel like losing control over your very existence?
But here's the thing. Relying on this currency has a cost. And the cost of building your identity on the gaze of other people is profound. You start living in this constant and frankly exhausting state of performance. You start to curate yourself. You edit your emotions. You shrink the parts of yourself that you worry might not get applause, and you amplify the parts that will. You learn to project an image, always hoping that it will be enough to keep that spotlight on you. And underneath all of that performance, that's where you find the core fears. The fear of being unseen, which can feel like being completely erased, the fear of being ordinary, which our culture has basically framed as a kind of failure, and that deep, deep fear of being forgettable, which can feel like a kind of death. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard said it perfectly. The crowd is untruth. It's such a powerful idea. We keep going back to the crowd over and over, hoping it will finally tell us who we are. But the crowd just consumes and forgets. And every time it forgets you, you risk slipping just a little bit further away from your real self. This dependency doesn't just vanish when you become an adult. No, it just gets more sophisticated. It shows up in these subtle, intelligent patterns. See if you recognize yourself in any of these. Do you ever find yourself over-explaining things because being misunderstood feels like you're being deleted? Or how about that sharp spike of anxiety when someone doesn't text you back quickly because that silence feels like abandonment? Maybe you perform confidence when you don't feel it, or you chase admiration, or you just live with this constant fear of one thing, being boring. And this often leads us to chase admiration instead of true intimacy. It makes sense, right? Admiration is safer. You can be seen from a distance, and you never have to let anyone get close enough to see the real, messy you. Real intimacy, well, that feels like a much, much bigger risk. Now, this is the most important part to understand. These are not character flaws. They are not signs that you're broken. They're intelligent, deeply conditioned survival strategies that you developed to navigate your world and feel safe. But they are strategies that are now costing you your freedom. So if that's the trap, how do we get out? The good news is the way forward starts with a simple but truly radical act: reclaiming your own gaze. It's about shifting your attention inward instead of constantly seeking it from the outside. This is a journey back to yourself. It involves reassuring that younger part of you that they are real and they are enough even when nobody is watching. It means gently meeting the parts of you that learned attention was survival. And it means reframing solitude, not as a punishment, but as total liberation. Because when you can finally sit alone without that feeling of disappearing, you've broken the spell.
The philosopher Alan Watts really pointed the way here. The whole goal shifts. You stop measuring your life by external validation, and you start experiencing it through your own internal presence. Presence is the antidote. It is the return trip home to yourself.
Because your worth was never measured by how many people see you. It's measured by how deeply you can see yourself. So let this be the final thought we leave you with. Remember this: attention is not the currency of your identity. Presence is.